Yes.
So is that money gonna be used specifically for the roads? Like they're not gonna be, oh, we're gonna buy 2 more new trucks next year?
Yeah, we're gonna buy 2 more new trucks.
Yeah?
No.
So, any other comments, or not, I'll entertain a motion.
I will motion to accept the SB project list to California Transportation Commission for the year 2025-26. I have the right one. Did I read the wrong one?
Good for resolution.
What name was it?
It's on the agenda, 7C.
I thought that's what I was reading. Oh, okay, sorry, I was on 7C. So recommending, let's start over. Motion that the city council adopt resolution 2025-13, resolution of the city council of the city of Bix adopting a list of projects for fiscal year 2025-26 funded by SB1, the Road and Accountability Act of 2017.
Thank you. Do you have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, item D, information, upcoming budget study session.
Well, we kind of already touched on that. Item B was intended just to verbally inform the council that has for some time utilized a simple Excel spreadsheet process for the workbook for budget preparation. And so once the council goes through that process, starting on the 27th, my hope is that we should be able to finalize the budget adoption at the second meeting in June before the budget adoption deadline at the end of June. So the process may involve an additional special budget study session if council determines that's appropriate. But we'll start those deliberations in earnest on the 27th.
What time is that planned?
6 p.m.
Okay. Good.
So it coincides with our regular meeting schedule.
Okay, sounds good.
I have a question. So we're gonna review the budget, but shouldn't we have like a priority list so that we know where to put funding? I mean, if we have an infrastructure, I'm just throwing out an idea, you know, we have to fix that first, so we know kind of where to move the money, or are we just gonna set it up and then?
Well, I wish I could represent to you that you had that kind of flexibility in your funding picture.
Yeah.
You really don't. And you know, most of what the staff will be bringing you a recommendations. I've already gone through and met with the department heads, identified where, well, for example, no one knows better than your public works superintendent what the needs of that department are forecasted to be in this next year. And there were purchases made in this past year, we've discussed some of them here, that are no longer required because they're behind us. And I'll just take, for example, the purchase of the new trucks. In previous year's budgets, we had a high amount of money set aside for maintenance repair. They're old and breaking. That's not necessary in 25-26 because of the condition of those vehicles and other items. But the bottom line is, I've worked with our accountant to develop a forecast of revenues. So I'll brief you on the forecasted revenues picture, and then based on those forecasted revenues, I will bring to you a series of recommendations by budget area explain to you my rationale for, you know, why I arrived and how I arrived at my recommendation. And then we can absolutely have a discussion as to whether, you think my recommendation is reasonable and responsible, or, completely out of line.
I know there was some funding that we need to do, like, for example, there was the, fire engine that has to be replaced in a couple of years, and I don't know the exact date of that year. We didn't have.
Last year,
Pardon?
it was supposed to be replaced last year, or this budget year.
Right, and we're only about $1 million shy
Right.
of that, and so I don't wanna have the budget study session
Right now. Yeah, I get it.
but that there are realities that are exerted by the cost escalations of your fire and law enforcement contracts that will override a lot of your other discretionary decisions. They crush the life out of other discretionary options.
Okay.
And you're not going to go without police and fire.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item E, discussion action, City of Biggs electric rate policy. That you, Cliff?
Mr. Mayor and Council, this one's mine. You know, the city of Gridley and the city of Biggs, not long ago, went through a very responsible and data-driven, independent, assessment of its rate design for water and wastewater as well as electric. In this case, the electric utility rate policies serve as a guide for how the council and how the city is going to approach the question. How often do we evaluate where we stand? Is there a reasonable cyclic process? Some POUs have gone for 10+ years without reviewing and conducting analysis of their rate and their rate design, which when they finally get around to it, leads to dramatic rate increases, which shocks the customer base. It's a disservice to the customer base to not actively manage your rate design process, and that means that with the adoption of this policy, the city council and the city of Biggs would be making a commitment to more actively manage its electric utility rates. That is essentially because your current electric operating fund is projected to be operating in a deficit by over $800,000. Last year's deficit was 1.5 million. It's coming down, and that's positive, but it exists in part because rates were not managed on a regular basis. And so it's a conversation nobody wants to have, ever. And it's a conversation we absolutely have to have at regular intervals to make sure that the electric fund is healthy. Each of your funds, whether it's water, wastewater, electric fund, general fund, has to be actively managed. And if it's not managed, we get into trouble. And this policy would be the commitment made so that we can remind ourselves what we need to do and why.
So with that, we adopt the policy, you're gone, is it within the city administrator's responsibility to bring it up, us to remind him?
The city administrator is your day-to-day, chief executive officer and manager of all policies, however, any member of council can invoke any of our city policies and, take a proactive leadership, approach as necessary. If your city administrator is not, actively, managing these elements, I think that then becomes a performance, measure criteria for you to discuss in closed session.
And I guess really it's just, as far as us on the council, is tracking the things that, we say we're gonna do in 2 years. It's,
Put it on your calendar.
something like that, yeah.
Is there any reason why we couldn't put in this resolution to review the electric rates every year?
Well, essentially it said that. I think we review it every year and then every 2 years and then 5 years of rate study.
The 2 years would represent a minimum.
2 years?
Yes.
So we do it every year.
Okay.
So any public comment?
There was a question of.
Can I, just as a reminder, this is a really good item to put on your budget so that you're putting money aside for that rate study, like a little bit every year. And I know it's discretionary, but then it reminds you when you look at your budget every year, oh, it's time to start doing it, it's time to do this again, right? Because we don't have a calendar, council's gonna change, city administrator's gonna change, your clerk's gonna change, right? Like, there's gonna be
Okay,
change.
Dave, enough with that change.
But if you have, I'll be around. But the budget's a really good spot, because every year you review that, and then it's, you can either earmark, but it also reminds you that, oh, hey,
That's a good idea.
we have rate studies. So,
No, that's a good idea. As a way for us, the council, to be able to track it for ourselves.
And on that score, Mr. Mayor, this is one of the real values of a reliable budget study session process. Because if that process, is not fully engaged by the council, it's hard for you to, if you're not under the hood of your budget, it's hard for you to track your priorities and your progress.
Absolutely. Thank you. So if there are no other questions, then I'll entertain a motion to approve, the base electric rate policy, or electric rate policy.
I will motion, resolution number 2025-14, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Biggs adopting the electric utility rate policies to guide rate structure, revenue, adequacy, equity, cost alignment, and stability.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item F.
Mr. Mayor and Council, just as we discussed, and for all the same reasons as we have a specific articulated policy on electric rate policies, we benefit in the same way by having a specific articulated policy on the management of water wastewater rates. The exact same arguments apply here. My previous assignment, this area went unaltered for 17 years. And fortunately, when we got into the analysis and analytics, we found that we weren't that far out of calibration. And so a minor calibration, but there was a lot of debate and discussion and anguish over a $4.80 a month increase, less than a cup of coffee. But when these things are not being actively managed, we're not well serving the residents of the community because the infrastructure replacement costs. I know that, Dave recently replaced a certain pipe down Highway 99. What was the cost of that pipe?
All said and done, it was 1.37 million, 1,350 feet.
For failure?
No, it was in conflict with the new drainage system that Caltrans was putting in. And so the city really wants sidewalk. And so in order to put sidewalk, Caltrans has to put in drainage. And it was also a 50-year-old, at least 50-year-old asbestos concrete pipe. They're notorious for being very, well, you look at it and they break basically. So with the contractor coming in, it just made sense to move that old, it was one of the last sections of really old pipe in Gridley, and so we moved it. But yes, there were some council members that thought others should pay for it, but it was a city utility in a state right away. So it was the responsibility of Gridley to do, and we got it done. We came in under budget, about $107,000 under budget, so it was, a successful project, but it still cost a lot.
You have a question for Dave? Any public comment? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Okay, I'll go ahead and make the motion to adopt resolution number 2025-15, resolution of the City Council of the City of Biggs adopting a water and wastewater rates policy.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. A motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Item 8, department reports.
I did not have any meetings. I'm trying to get onto the California Integrated Waste Management Local Task Force. We did reach somebody and I'm on a listserv, but no meeting scheduled. SCORE, we have a meeting in June. Haven't had one since April. So I don't have a report.
Okay. I attended flood control, Butte County mosquito, and obviously DC. There was days and days worth of stuff there. The only notable thing besides the things that Randy mentioned is Congressman LaMalfa is the chair of the Western Caucus. It's the second largest caucus in the Congress, and we gave him the Spirit of Public Power Award at the Capitol Club, which was pretty neat. And then, like Randy said, a lot of meetings and still a lot of things unknown and developing literally hourly in some cases. And then heading to another NCPA, APPA conference from the 6th through the 11th. And so, yeah, that's all I got. Any department reports for you?
Yeah, very brief planning update report. There was one site plan review application was approved for a single family home, a manufactured home at 395 E Street, and there was a fence permit application to repair a 6-foot tall fence on Downing Street. So very quiet month as far as development applications, and the building permit activity is very quiet for this time of year. That's provided in those attachments. I can take any questions.
Any questions for Bob? So they moved your planning report on me, that's why I keep missing you, it's not where it used to be.
That's right.
So Dave, council report, city administrator report.
I think we get.
Yeah, I didn't give you a report, but since I'm here, I might as well give you an update. The 2nd Street project, we pushed on the contractor to move it to June so that we wouldn't have to deal with school traffic. PG&E has put a kind of a, we need them to relocate some services, and they said, well, we can get it done by June 30th. So the contractor's like, well, we might as well wait till June 30th. Now, we're pushing back because we want to make sure they get it done before school starts, probably what, August, end of August or something like that?
This is the beginning of August.
June 30th, fine.
No, I mean, when, we want them to get done before school starts, so we're pushing back, so I need to track down that date, but, it is a short build window, but, I give PG&E is notoriously in the way. But other than that, all things are still moving forward.
Can we contact PG&E to let them know? I mean, do
We
we have
poke them
any
like,
influence here?
we poke them like every week, right? Yeah, so it's not
I have a
like,
meeting with
Not-
their liaison, their government affairs representative on Wednesday next week.
good, well, tell them, I think
I'll dial
there's
you
like
in.
3 or 4 services out there, that they need to relocate. I mean, they're 1-inch lines, it should be a pretty quick, probably a single day for them to do all of it. We just need them done so that we can get in and lay the storm drain pipe, so.
I'll send you the Zoom link.
Yeah, interactions that I've had, I mean, it's just small things, but it's very slow. And it's just like you said, constant reminders and maybe going up the chain.
It took us 3 months just to get the paperwork, to get them to book and, you know, give us a date that, oh, we'll get it done by.
Notoriously.
Oh, I
Yeah.
understand.
So-
Yeah, it could be the smallest thing or a huge thing, it doesn't matter, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
The only worse than PG&E would be Caltrans.
I hear the railroad.
And then the